What is up, GALA Gamers? Welcome back to another Champions Arena video. Today we're going to be talking about the summoner spells in Champions Arena, the good, the bad, the ugly. So let's get to it. So I wanted to do a champions tier list for this video, but I need a few more days to work out the nooks and crannies of certain champions before I release my tier list. So we have a summoner spell tier list. So what are summoner spells? Well, summoner spells are something that your summoner can use in battle to give you an advantage. The way you use them is it requires mana. So how do you get mana? Mana is acquired by champions that have skills that generate mana. For example, the tutorial champion you get is Zyma. Zyma's passive generates 1 mana a turn, and his basic attack generates 1 mana on a card attack. And if you card match, so he is a red, I believe, so if you do a red basic attack, he generates 2 mana instead of 1. So Zyma can in turn generate 3 mana a turn, and that is huge for some of the spells that we're going to be talking about in just a second. So let's move on to the first spell, which is called Acceleration. Acceleration costs 4 mana, has a 7-turn cooldown, and it increases the turn gauge of a single ally by 25%. Acceleration is a normal good spell to use. You use it when you need to make sure your champion goes before an enemy champion, so you can kill the enemy champion before they kill you. It's generally a good thing to do to use your turn gauge if you have like a 3-star card and you want the champion that's about to die to use it before they die. Then you use Acceleration. It's a fairly decent spell to have on your spell slot. Next up, we move to one of my favorite spells, and that is Blow. Blow costs 4 mana, has a 7-turn cooldown, and during one attack it increases the damage dealt by a single ally by 25%. So the reason Blow is amazing is because you know you're going to be dealing damage that turn. You know you're going to kill this champion, or you want to kill this champion. You have 3-star card ready to go that is card matched, and then you use Blow to get that extra 25% damage to guarantee the kill. Now, this is one of the spells that I use all the time in Champions Arena, and it is a good spell to have in your spell slot. Next up, we move on to Control. Control costs 3 mana, and that's where Zyma comes in, because if you generate 3 mana with Zyma, you can use the spell right away on his turn. Has a 6-turn cooldown, and it changes 1 random card with the attribute of the current hero. So when you use this card, make sure you're using it with the hero that you want the color to turn to, and it will change any random card in your inventory to that color. Now, ideally you want to have like level 2 or 3-star cards ready, so it changes those, so you don't have to mix and match with the 1-star cards. But it can be useful in such situations, and it is a decent spell to have in your spell slot. Next up, we move on to Corrosion. Corrosion costs 3 mana, has a 6-turn cooldown, and during one attack, it decreases the damage inflicted by a single enemy by 25%. So Corrosion is a normal spell. Between Blow and Corrosion, I would go with Blow, because the reason Corrosion is not as good as Blow is even though you reduce the enemy's attack by 25%, there's no guarantee he's going to be using his best skill to deal the damage. He could use his basic attack, or he could even buff. There's no guarantee he's going to be dealing the best damage possible. And with Blow, you know you're going to be using your best skill to deal the damage. So out of Blow and Corrosion, I would go for Blow. Next up, we have Deceleration. It costs 4 mana, has a 6-turn cooldown, and it decreases the turn gauge of a single enemy by 25%. Now, this is a decent skill to use, and it can situationally be really good. The reason I say this is you can decrease the turn gauge of an enemy champion by 25%. Sometimes that doesn't move them 1 position, sometimes it can move them 2 positions down, so you can move your champions ahead, and instead of getting like 1 champion to attack, you can sometimes get 2. So if you time it correctly, it can be a really good spell. You don't know if that's going to be in effect unless you're studying the turn gauge, and sometimes you can miss the white bars if you're not paying attention. So it is a decent skill to have. Acceleration and Deceleration, it depends on your playstyle, which one you go to, if you want to improve your champion or decrease the enemy's champion. Next up, we have Growth, one of my favorite skills in the game. It costs 3 mana, has a 6-turn cooldown, and what it does is it chooses 1 random card and levels it up by 1. Now, this is a good spell to have, because what you can do with it is you can have a bunch of level 2 cards, and then you can use Growth, and that one of them will go up to level 3. So you're guaranteed a level 3 card with this spell. Another thing you do with this card is if you have a bunch of 2-stars and you have like some 1s that you need to go up to 2-star to combine to get a 3-star, you can use this on like level 1 cards that bump up to level 2, and then you can combine them with your turn move and get a level 3 card. The overall Growth is an amazing spell if you use it correctly. Next up, we have Guardian. Guardian costs 4 mana, has a 9-turn cooldown, the most out of any summoner spell. During 2 attacks, it decreases damage taken by a single ally by 20%. So Guardian is a decent spell to have in your spell slot. It reduces a champion's damage taken for 2 turns, which is amazing. But as I said before, it's no guarantee they're going to be using your best skills on that champion. But if you want that champion to survive longer, at least for 2 attacks, you need to make sure you use this spell on them. Next up, we have Heal. Heal costs 4 mana, has a 6-turn cooldown, and it heals a single ally by 20% of their max HP. Now, Heal is situational. The reason it's situational is because you basically use it in situations where you need to make sure your champion doesn't die or can survive or tank a hit before you can use your spells. So it's situationally good. There's other spells that I've talked about that are better used instead of Heal as a slot. For example, I'd rather have Blow than Heal or Growth than Heal. Next up, we have Sharp, and Sharp costs 3 mana, has a 7-turn cooldown, and during one attack, it adds additional 50% crit rate up to a single ally. Now, this is a decent spell to have, but if you have a crit rate champion such as the Battle Pass champion Selena, this goes up to good, because you just increase their crit rate, and then Selena also has skills that increase her crit rate. So it's pretty much guaranteed to kit if you use this spell with the Selena's attacks that can guarantee an enemy champion death. If you do not have champions that have crit rate, then you're basically gambling on RNG if it's going to crit or not. And I don't think that's a good thing to do with other spells available that can guarantee you a decent result rather than relying on RNG. But if you do like praying to RNG Jesus, then you can use Sharp. Next up, we have Stop. Stop costs 3 mana, has a 5-turn cooldown, which is the lowest out of any summoner spell. And what it does is it prohibits the opponent's cards from moving for 1 turn. Now, Stop is situational because it basically depends on the situation you're in. It can be decent at sometimes, but mainly in Arena you want to use this, or sometimes in Campaign or Tower of Trials. You basically want to stop the enemy from doing anything amazing, but if they already have like a 3 or 2-star card, they can generate a decently powerful skill and use that skill. So it's good early on in the gameplay to make sure the enemy doesn't have a turn with a powerful card, but later on they're going to already have like a bunch of combos, so I wouldn't use it later on in the fight. Next up is another card that I love to use, and that is Trick. It has a 3 mana cost, a 6-turn cooldown, and it allows energy cards to be moved 1 more time. This is a straight up good spell to have. The reason it's amazing and I use it a lot is because sometimes you get a new card and you need to move it twice to combine it to get a 2-star card, and then you combine the 2-star card again to get a 3-star card. So in 1 turn, if you've already had a 2-star, say for example red ready, and you get a new red and you have another red somewhere else, you can basically move that red to the level 1 red, they combine, get a 2-star red, use Trick, summon a spell, be able to move 1 more time that turn, and then you combine the 2-star reds into a 3-star red, and it guarantees you a really good 3-star skill if you time it accordingly. Finally, we have Weakening. It costs 3 mana, has a 6-turn cooldown, and during 2 attacks it increases the damage taken by a single enemy by 15%. Now this is a situational skill. The reason it's situational is because you need to make sure you have 2 allies that can attack the enemy before the enemy's turn goes to guarantee that they take the additional damage. It can carry on over, but generally when it carries on over, that champion is going to be killing one of your champions. So I'd rather have Blow instead of Weakening. And it's a situational on how you use it. I don't use it as much. The 3 summoner spells that I do use are Blow, Growth, and Trick. They're my 3 go-to staples, and that is the summoner spell tier list. If you guys plan to play Champions Arena and don't have a GALA Games account, or if you are planning to buy anything from the GALA Games store, please use my link down below. I get a small cut of whatever you purchase. If you purchase GALA Gold, they give me a better cut. So if you don't already have GALA Gold, I suggest you look into it, because right now, if you buy it, you'll be grandfathered in for life for GALA Gold membership. Soon it's going to be turning into a subscription model, and that means you'll have to pay monthly instead of a one-time payment. If you are enjoying my Champions Arena videos, then hit that like button, smash that subscribe button, and turn on that notification bell to stay up to date with all my videos, and because it's the easiest way to support me as a content creator. As always, I'll see you guys in the next GALA Games video.